What's a subtle sign that someone had a rough childhood? My sister-in-law adopted 3 siblings who are completely self-sustainable at a very young age. When they were visiting, I noticed a lot. If I gave anything to the oldest boy, he would pass it off to the youngest sister. Then I'd give him another, and it went to the middle sister. Then I'd give him another, and he'd finally keep it for himself. I asked if they wanted water. He said yes, and I asked if the girls wanted water too. Oh, we can all share this one. Obviously I gave them all water. But that one hit me pretty hard. He knew their eating schedules and would nag my sister-in-law. Offered to make them mac and cheese or noodles or whatever we have laying around. Promised to clean up after. He was 12 years old. When normal kids play video games, they're glued. This kid was constantly checking over his shoulder to make sure everyone was safe, and if he felt one of his sisters was up to no good, he would put the controller down even if it meant dying or losing his progress in the game. To elaborate on up to no good, what the oldest brother considered bad behavior was pretty innocuous. There were several instances of things I consider normal childish behavior that he would regularly put a stop to. The most outstanding one was being too loud. It wouldn't even be yelling or screaming. Just typical 5-year-old make-believe noises that would cause him to run over and tell the little one to keep it down. This reminds me of when my nan fostered 2 kids, 5M and 2F, and the brother was always making sure his sister was taken care of first. He rarely let her out of his sight and constantly reassured her through everything. If he did ever go anywhere without her, e.g. doctor's appointment, etc., on the way out of the door he would tell her, multiple times, "Don't worry, I will be back soon." It absolutely breaks your heart to see they have shouldered so much responsibility so young. They got adopted by somebody else after about a year with my nan. Luckily their baby sister, who was being fostered separately, also got adopted with them to the same new parents. Having the ability to function as their own parent at a young age. Talking like an adult at a young age. Anything else that shows they had to grow up fast. Yes. I was constantly told that I had an old head on young shoulders. By many different people. Insecurity. My psychology professor used to joke that psychology is the study of common sense. When someone is insecure, it is generally because they lack security as a child. Parental love was typically conditional and varied depending on the caretaker's mood. The child becomes insecure due to love not being guaranteed. So to earn this basic need, they will go throughout life trying to solve social puzzles that don't exist. Solving imaginary puzzles all the time can prove to be fatiguing, so these individuals tend to isolate themselves. Man, you hit this right on the head for me. I never really understood it like this before, but this helps me understand how my own mind works a bit better. My mother was extremely arbitrary. I remember her making me stay home for no reason when I asked to go and play with my friends. So what I did the next day was clean the whole house after I got home from school, before she got home from work, so she wouldn't have a reason to keep me home. I see the world so much differently than most people. It's hard to remember that sometimes. One other thing that goes along with this is hypervigilance and fear of the worst-case scenario. Yes, I always thought, if you expect the worst you'll never be caught off guard. Also trying to anticipate any possible needs so you can fulfill it before shit hits the fan. At 51, I still try to meet my fam's needs before they even express it. Doesn't have to be caused by lack of parental love either. You can have a loving home but struggle socially in school and end up with a very similar result. Unfortunately for me, I had both the bad home and the bullying at school. Insanely independent. They've learned not to trust anyone to help them, so do everything themselves. I do this because during my childhood, I had no one to depend on. It has been very difficult to create intimacy as an adult when you don't want anyone to do anything for you. You should read Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. I did last year, and it discussed the different kinds of emotionally immature parents and the types of defense mechanisms their children tend to develop that last into adulthood and relationships. I read that and thought, damn, welcome to who I am. It made so much sense once that book made me think about it. I remember going to summer camp as a kid and meeting Milo. Milo was big on attention-seeking and validation, and would take food from the cafeteria back to his bunk, like eggs and toast. I remember thinking he was just weird, but I think looking back and knowing what I know now, he was probably being neglected at home. Thin as a rail and probably malnourished, so he wanted as much food as he could get, and just wanted someone to acknowledge him. Pretty sad stuff. I came here to post about food hoarding. Obviously, there are a lot of reasons why a person might have a complicated relationship with food, but food hoarding is often specifically a behavior that stems from childhood food insecurity. If you don't get to eat regularly as a little kid, your lizard brain may never really believe that whatever food you have is enough. I think that can be generalized to a lot of behaviors. Whatever you were missing out on as a kid, attention, affection, food, security on some level, you're going to be seeking that out for the rest of your life. This is my husband all over. We have an extra fridge freezer, a large chest freezer, and a converted food pantry in the back of the garage because the kitchen was full to bursting. There is so much food here we could withstand a siege. I just go with it. I understand why he does it, and it has come in very handy during the lockdown. Attention seeking, even if it's negative attention, had always been a big flag to me. Same with compulsive lying. I think a lot of it is telling big stories as a way of getting attention. They feel the need to fabricate or embellish in order to keep attention. Also, there were kids at my school who were always hurt, like they wanted needed medical attention for the smallest of injuries, and would use it to get people to feel sorry for them. They always were wearing some kind of brace bandage, visiting the nurse. Sometimes it was a legitimate thing, but a lot of times I felt it was something used to get attention. I went through a compulsive lying phase from about age 10 through, 22 or so. A lot of innocuous stuff, like I really wanted the snooty horse girls in my 4th grade class to believe I had an uncle with a sprawling horse farm. It was absolutely attention-seeking, and I've been beating myself up about it since day one. Looking back, of course it was attention-seeking behavior. I was so lonely. We talk about compulsive lying as such a pathetic behavior. Most people who recognize it just write you off as a nutcase or toxic or untrustworthy. But at 10, I was a little kid who didn't believe anybody could possibly like me. My self-worth was non-existent. The fact that the lying continued through adolescence is because the internet became a thing and I could almost effortlessly develop a whole new identity, which is intoxicating to somebody who feels worthless all the time. And 2, I was intelligent and imaginative enough to juggle the lies, so consequences came very slowly. Everyone is different, but one that automatically raises a red flag for me and makes me extremely worried is when someone flinches for no reason. I wouldn't say it's for no reason, but I don't know what other words to use. So really sorry about that. Like, you raise your voice slightly at them and they flinch. You raise your hands to grab something near them and they flinch. You look at them in a certain way and they flinch. You hug them and they flinch, etc., etc. I joke about being a fainting goat, but I'm so hypervigilant that I nearly jump out of my skin at any kind of startle. But this is exactly why I'm like this. My old boss used to be like this. Seemed completely well-adjusted, healthy person, but if you startled her, she would jump out of her skin. We used to clomp down the hallway to make as much noise as possible before entering her office. Found out much later she had an abusive dad who worked nights who used to rage and kept her walking on eggshells her entire childhood. When things get tense, they move and breathe very silently and are hyper-aware of everything that is happening and everyone else's actions. I find that they also read people very well, but still have poor judgment when it comes to close relationships. Okay, I just had a realization cause of this common cause. When I was a kid, my parents would fight, and if I was even existing in their way, I would take the end of it, and I just got good at being quiet and flexible, hiding in small spaces. Someone who rarely shares what happens at home or talk about their family. Taphophobia, or the fear of being touched, is definitely one of them. Flinching at loud noises or quick movements. Wanting to be at work and doing good all the time. Inconsistent hobby practice, i.e. drawing, but only sometimes drawing, and then dismissing what you drew as not good enough. From the horse's mouth. 1. People-pleasing behaviors, class clown, always agrees. 2. Overcompensating with laughter during conversation, in an attempt to appease others. 3. Self-isolating. Stops contacting friends for seemingly no reason, due to feelings of inferiority, worthlessness. 4. No motivation to make anything of themselves, believing they would only fail anyway. 5. Allows themselves to be bullied, usually hangs out with dates abusive people. 6. Conspiracy theorists, can't live without a sense of impending doom, will unconsciously find one. 7. Extremely nervous when doing new things in front of others. 8. So mature for their age, equals didn't get to be a kid teen. 9. Total inability to accept compliments. 10. No or very few distant friends as an adult. 11. Barely any memory of childhood. 12. No happy stories of childhood. 13. Extremely negative self-talk. What's a subtle sign that someone had a rough childhood? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.